Hello everyone, this is Tim again, and today I want to talk about Birthright, the Gorgon's Alliance. And this was put out by Sierra using Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition, I believe, as the base rules. Now, this is the first exposure I had to the Birthright setting, and this little game here pretty much got me interested in learning more about it. I found a used box set of Birthright, and later I was given another set that found its way to Alakov's hands. So hopefully you like the Birthright stuff for Alakov. But anyway, the game itself is kind of a strange game in that you can adventure. You can go on adventure with adventuring parties. You can have sort of like a master board, sort of geopolitical kingdom versus kingdom. You can build roads. You can form alliances. You can declare war. In fact, you have to declare war to go into the next kingdom over. You can muster troops. It keeps track of all the costs of all the troops that you have. You can use regency to pay off things, which basically using your sort of royal bloodline to make people trust you enough that they don't want to serve for money. They want to just support you because you are an awesome guy. At least that's the way I've always been interpreted by it. But the idea is that the gods themselves, their bloodline, their blood flows in the lines of the royal people of the kingdom of Cerelia, and they're all fighting with one another, and it's very divided. And there's this guy called the Gorgon that used to be basically the same thing as all the kingdom's owners, regents, kings, whatever you want to call them, and you can empower your blood by defeating others of the same bloodline. At least that's always the way I've kind of interpreted it. You can get stronger, and in the game there's a way to increase your regency by clicking on the dot, but it's kind of expensive and it takes pretty much a turn. But what I like about the game is that it does a lot of the calculations for you. When I was looking through the Birthright stuff, it seemed pretty complicated to do what this game does just on pen and paper, and it kind of makes it quicker. It speeds things up, and it's pretty neat. You can pick your kingdom to start with. And there's only a select few, I think there's maybe 6 or 8 kingdoms you can start with, and you have to pick a regent. And some have a stronger bloodline, some are higher level fighters, wizards, priests, that sort of thing. And there's also different levels of this game. You can pick adventures only, and that's all you do. You can pick a basic game, sort of like a moderate game, and an advanced game, and the higher up you go, the more options you have for running kingdoms and what you can do with it. I never got a rulebook with this, so really all I could learn from it was the help section. I think when this was originally put out, it did have a rulebook in a box, and for whatever reason, I think I just bought a used copy somewhere. Don't even remember where I got it from, but it looked interesting, and I was glad that I picked it up. It made me kind of fall in love with the setting. Eventually, I would like to run a Birthright setting. I think I would have to do a lot of reading and a lot of preparation, and I've had a few friends giving me suggestions on what to do. But for Birthright, the Gorgon's Alliance, it's a fun little game. For battles, you can actually battle out everything on it's almost like it's 3 games in one. Like I said, you can adventure, you can battle, and there's that big sort of kingdom map that you can move all the troops around. And there's chaos soldiers that pop up every once in a while that you have to defeat. And there are several bad kingdoms that you have to worry about that kind of ally themselves with the Gorgon. So one by one, you just try to weed everybody out or make alliances with other kingdoms. The one thing I've noticed is even if you make an alliance with a kingdom and you really start gobbling up all the other kingdoms, those alliances usually kind of crumble away because you are kind of like a big major threat to them. The only real reason that even though you might plan never to attack that kingdom, they're just scared of you, and they might break that alliance themselves. Another thing too is if you get pretty much to the end of the game, if you gobble up enough power and the Gorgon's still alive, you can still win, depending on what winning conditions you set for, easy, moderate, or hard. And they just calculate how many alliances you have, your troops, the number of properties, or different kingdoms, or I don't know, there's different little sections on the map that all have names for them. And when you're going through and deciding what to improve, because like I said, you can make roads, and the roads basically make it cheaper for all of your troops to move around on. If there isn't a road there, it costs money to move troops. So while it's a little bit pricey up front to build a road, in the long term, you can basically move all your troops for free. So usually on my map, you just see this big old just roads everywhere, and it's real easy to figure out where my kingdom is. I don't know. I always like building roads. I don't know why. And there's things like building up the law so that you can collect taxes. Because if there's places that don't have a lot of tax collectors and ways to enforce it, they'll revolt and riot. Sorry for the cuckoo clock. My wife loves that thing. I'm starting to hate it. But it's a neat little game. It has a lot of playability. Even after you've played it a few times, you can just pick a different kingdom and do something completely different than you did the last time. Maybe the first time you do a very military-heavy campaign. There's magical resources you can build up. You can build up guilds and have trade routes everywhere as long as there's roads built to places. So it's very interesting in that regard. There's different ways to gather up all that power. But it is kind of fun just to beat them all down with military and troops. But another problem you might face with this game, I don't know if you can see it, my old computer over there is the only way that I can play this game. I know there are maybe some modifications that you can use in different programs to let you play older games, but this one will only run on Windows 95, Windows 98. So I'm glad I kept my old beast of a computer up back there, so I have a way to play games on it. I tried to plug it in this computer, and it said no. But this was a fun game. It has its problems. The adventuring game isn't as good as some other adventure games out there. The military combat isn't really my thing either. The main reason that I liked this game was the alliances and moving troops around, and I don't know, I really found that to be enjoyable. I know there's other games out there like this. I think Civilization is a game sort of like this, but different. I've never played a lot of those games, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, it was my introduction to the Birthright setting, and it's a fun little old school video game if you have an old computer or can figure out a way to play old games on new computers. I don't know. It can be kind of tough. But that was Birthright, and I spent a lot of time in front of the computer playing that little game, moving my little troops around, because they always say, like, yes, my liege, your bidding is my command, those sort of things. In fact, my wife will actually listen to me play this game, and she just laughs because I'm moving troops around. She's like, oh, that's just silly. But, all right, I'll talk to you guys later.